And it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. A win is a win in fantasy football. So if you want to bring home one of these, listen up. It's time to get ready. Whether you are 0-4 or 4-0. Quiet down, class. Quiet down. Thank you. Today we are going to be doing a record review. Some people view the fantasy football season as one continuous game, when in reality, there are 4 quarters in your fantasy football season. The first quarter is weeks 1 through 4. You just drafted and you're still feeling out your team to see what you truly have. What players are overperforming and underperforming what you initially thought. The second quarter are weeks 5 through 8, where you begin to make adjustments to bolster your roster. Then the third quarter is the playoff push, where you're scratching and clawing to do everything you can to get those wins that you need to make it to the big dance. The playoffs, baby. And the fourth quarter, of course, are the playoffs. And it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. A win is a win in fantasy football. So if you want to bring home one of these, listen up. It's time to get ready. Whether you are 0-4 or 4-0, you are not out of this. You can still take one of these bad boys home. So listen up. And get ready for quarter 2. Now that you understand the general concept of what each quarter is, let's discuss your record and see what you need to do to get yourself on a path for fantasy football glory. 4 weeks have elapsed. You can have a combination of 5 records. 0-4, 1-3, 2-2, 3-1, 4-0. We're gonna break these into sections. The advice for 0-4 and 1-3 are roughly the same. You're both towards the bottom of your league. 2-2, you're in the middle. 3-1, you're towards the top or at the tippy top, depending on how many points you've scored thus far. But these records can sometimes be misleading. Just because you are 4-0 does not mean your team is the best team. And just because you are 0-4 does not mean your team is the worst team. Some of it comes down to chance. Who is your opponent? Have you had major injuries? These are just some of many factors that could take you from 4 wins to no wins. But it's time to get you pushing forward. Before we dive too far into the records and what you need to do to either bounce back or bolster your roster, there's something that each one of these teams needs to do at the end of each quarter, at least. Before you make any major moves, what you're gonna want to do is go to your league and see where you stack up with points for. For example, this is me here at the top, of course. Check out points for, 606, all the way down to the bottom, 519. So every one of these teams should be reviewing their points for. You can look at your points against as well if you want to. Can't really change that. But it does show you how lucky or unlucky it's been. If you're 0-4 or 1-3 and you want one of these, listen up. Class is in session. If you look at your points for and you're in the top third of your league, you've just been really unlucky. You don't really need to make major changes. Your team is scoring enough to win, you're just getting bad matchups. So here's what we're gonna do. You don't have to trade your best player, but you should evaluate your team and see where you are deficient and see where you are strong. You're gonna want to consolidate and look for an upgrade. For example, if you see that you have a surplus of wide receivers and you couldn't possibly start them all each week, but you really are weak at running back, you should trade one of those receivers and get a running back to fill in that hole. And this works with any position. If you have a surplus of any position that is good and a weakness at another position, you should be trading to bolster your roster. If you are 0-4, 1-3, and you're in the bottom third of your league in points for, then we got some work to do. This means that your team is truly not performing. It's time to shake it up a little bit. So there's a couple of reasons this could be. Maybe you drafted Jonathan Taylor or Jamar Chase, and they're either not performing or haven't played thus far. Either way, it's time to start looking into some trades. In your situation, what you're gonna do is look at your team. And I mean really look, not just on the surface look. You really need to soul search. Where are you strong and where are you weak? If there's an area where you are strong, such as you have good wide receivers but bad running backs, trade one of your good wide receivers, probably the best one, you really need a haul, and get back 2 pieces that are gonna fill up your deficiencies and make your team more whole. This way, you'll be scoring more points than that one player can get you. Winning teams tend to have a surplus of riches, so go see what they'll give you for your main piece. You're looking to give away your elite player and get back 2 starters. If you are 0-4 or 1-3, you play to win just this week. You need wins, like right now. You're not planning for the future, week 8, week 9. You need wins right now. So look out for bye weeks. If you need any help or have any questions, just let the professor know. If you're 2-2 and you want one of these, listen up. Class is in session. If you're 2-2, you're in a solid spot. You don't have a bunch of wins, but more importantly, you don't have a bunch of losses. That's good. But you're not out of the woods yet. You're average. We don't do average around here. We're trying to be the best. You don't get one of these by being average. So mazel tov, you don't suck. You can be better though, and I'm gonna make you better. I believe in you. So how do we do that? Well, you're 2-2. First, let's figure out, do you have a good team? So you're gonna review the points for and see where you stack up. If you are at the bottom, you're probably lucky to get those 2 wins. If you're at the top, somebody might have stole a couple wins from you. I wouldn't make major changes. Stay diligent on the waiver wire. Make sure you're picking up defenses that have good matchups and kickers that are preferably in a dome and not in bad weather. These are minor tweaks that will help you squeak out some wins that you might have lost otherwise. Stay diligent. Also, if your bench is outscoring your starters, that may not be on you per se. Making decisions on who to start each week can be difficult, so you're gonna want to consolidate and look for an upgrade. There is no reason your bench should consistently be outscoring your starters. Make a trade, upgrade your roster. You'll thank me in the long run. If you're 3-1 or 4-0 and you want one of these, listen up. Class is in session. Brava! Brava! Good job so far. You've either been really good or gotten really lucky. So how we determine that? You gotta check the points for. If you're towards the top, you might actually deserve it. If you're towards the bottom, you're probably really lucky. Either way, doesn't matter. You are 3-1 or 4-0, baby. So you can flex. Just don't get big-headed. You still gotta do the little things. No matter how good your team is, you're not impervious to injuries. You want to bolster that bench and then consolidate to make your starters better. Stay diligent on the waiver wire. Make sure you're still picking up and dropping defenses that have good matchups. If you're streaming quarterbacks, don't get too comfortable. Quarterbacks will pop up and take the league by storm. If you're 3-1 or 4-0, especially if you have a high amount of points scored, you can start thinking for the future. Check out when you have some bye weeks coming up, weeks that you may be weak moving forward. You can start looking into some trades that may make your bye weeks a little more reasonable. It's been a good start, but if you want one of these, you're gonna have to keep winning. I believe in you. Keep it up. I know that it's discouraging being 0-4 or 1-3, but it's not over yet. Do not overreact to a bad start. You can definitely still come back and win this championship. You just gotta put in the effort. 0-4, 0-5, 0-6. It just means you need to go on a bit of a run. 7-7 is a record that's good enough to get you in the playoffs. It's gonna come down to points, but you got a real shot with 7 wins. Now that's not a guarantee, but if you get 7, you got a shot. This is my league. At the top, obviously, King Henry. Right now I'm 3-1, highest points scored, of course. 88% chance to make the playoffs, 19% chance being a championship, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about right here. 7-7. This line right here is how many people are gonna make the playoffs. Everybody above this line makes the playoffs. 7-7 can get you there. Now it's not a guarantee, but it gives you a shot. Obviously we're shooting for higher than this, people, but we're 4 weeks in and you're 0-4 or 1-3. You just gotta get 7. There's 10 left. You can do this. Heck, depending on the league, you might be able to sneak in there with a 6-8 record if you got enough points for it. We're not shooting for that, but... So never give up. Never surrender. You got this. I believe in you. Don't forget, there's a game at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. Jaguars versus Bills. It's a London game. Be ready. Advice that may win you your week: take your Sunday morning players out of the flex and put them in their positional spots. You'll thank me later. Everyone, bye weeks have begun, so make sure you take that into account when you're setting your roster and predicting how well you're going to play moving forward. If you have any questions or have any topics that you would like me to cover, leave them down below in the comments. I look forward to helping you all, and click here for more fantasy football training. I'll be dropping a lot more where this came from. Can't wait until I start giving out your grades. Class is adjourned.